Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, sort of the host, but you know what? I'm actually going to hand off hosting duties to my guest to introduce himself and myself.
This has been an honor, Jeff. Finally, I have earned my way to the captain's chair here at my fifth going around the sun with you.
Number 5.
Yeah, number 5. This is actually significant. Remember, Steve Martin has hosted Saturday Night Live the most times. I think Tom Hanks is second. I'm not quite sure who is the distant third.
Well, you are the Steve Martin of the Discover Indie Film podcast. You are 5th. I think maybe someone else has done 3. I know there's several 2s, but...
Yeah, 5.
And you are also the only person who's ever done it. You never flew in from Atlanta just to do this podcast, but you do this podcast most times you're in LA from Atlanta.
Exactly. And the audio is so much better.
I know, it's funny. We could totally do it every week on Zoom, but...
That would be hilarious. People would love it. I think eventually we might get a deal at Sirius and then we could be paid to do it.
Wow. Well, you just convinced me. But you didn't say your name. I didn't say your name, did I?
Do we have to say my name anymore?
You don't want to? It's in the list. That's true.
On.
If they don't know
Steve
you...
Steve Martin come out and say, "Hi, everyone, it's Steve Martin. I'm back again to host another Saturday Night Live."
I will just share that I was one of those kids in the 70s who had a cassette tape of each Steve Martin album.
Really?
And memorized every joke.
I was one of those black kids in the 70s that said, "Why does that white man have an arrow going through his head?"
Did you get to hear the jokes, or you just saw images of them?
You were blown by that point, because, when you're coming of age as a black kid in the 70s, you are in the post-civil rights era of the United States. You're in awe of white people. You're just like, these people are crazy. You mean these are the people that have subverted us for over, several centuries? Why is he dressed in a King Tut outfit and that's a hit song?
Right, so the aura of invincibility was gone finally.
Oh my God, shattered.
And you looked,
shattered.
These people are fucking ridiculous.
They're ridiculous. These are ridiculous,
but he was the king
people.
of being ridiculous.
Absolutely,
and intelligent at the same time.
Phenomenally intelligent, and that was always the kick save and saving grace for me with white people. You had to be intelligent. If you weren't intelligent, I couldn't stand it. It just would make me absolutely crazy. But if you were just insane just to be insane, I couldn't deal with it. For instance, I did not enjoy the Jim Belushi performance in what was the film that he made that he was
Animal House?
Animal
when he
House.
was just a drunken buffoon?
Just like out of his mind. Like that's literally one of the craziest white man performances of all time. Where I'm just like, what is he doing? That is bizarre. No one would do that. That doesn't make any sense to me. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I was able to understand it and appreciate it.
Right, there's just straight up shock value.
Oh, it was just completely nuts and shock value. So, I was more of a Eddie Murphy guy. You gotta remember Eddie Murphy as a very young man, and there's this great sketch right around still in that same era where he's playing sort of a Basquiat character at an art gallery, and he used to do these poems or spoken word, and he had one called Kill My Landlord. And all of these like hoity-toity white people from New York or
man. If my brain were about 10 years younger, I could name that poet. The poet Eddie Murphy would play on SNL.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that one he performed from prison.
Yeah, he was in prison.
Yeah,
that was the first that got popular. And then they had a whole thing where they do a whole
CILL.
Yeah, and artists talk back and stuff like that, and and CILL my landlord. And then he plays he completely took the Gumby character.
Yeah,
he stole it. Like it's just Gumby was its own thing before Murphy.
And he made him one of those elderly Jewish comedians he worshipped.
Who can do that? That is intelligence beyond intelligence.
His repertoire was amazing.
It's amazing. He and Robin Williams are 1-2 with me. And, if it's such a weird thing to say. If Eddie Murphy had been a white man, he'd have made more films like Robin Williams. But because Eddie Murphy was a black man, he had to make more films by dressing up as women and doing other weird stuff. But Robin Williams dressed up as a woman, too.
And there was that weird... Well, he took a turn...
Well, he made money taking that turn.
To make money, but also he took that turn a little earlier
than expected.
When, when Spike Lee shat all over him in public.
Exactly.
And then he reacted by going, "Oh, all right, I'll shift a little." But I think it I think it messed with the natural talent that he had.
Right. And the problem with Spike Lee shatting all over him in public is that then Spike Lee turned around and pissed on his own feet. You can't go around criticizing other people unless you have the ability to rise to a whole nother level. Your game's got to be good. If Michael Jordan turns to you and says, "Hey, you suck," you're like, okay, yeah, I must, because you're Michael Jordan. Spike never got to become a Jordan-esque filmmaker, or maybe it's still in him. I don't know. He's got time, but for him to be pissing and shatting on other people, and he wasn't making great films during that particular era as well. I mean, he's made some great films. Do the Right Thing is one of the greatest films of all time.
I'm a fan of a lot of it.
There's also Girl 6. There's also these weird films.
Well, if you go deep in the canon, he's productive.
He's not perfect. He's not, and he.
But some of the small budget stuff I really love.
Some of it is very.
I thought
very
Get
good.
on the Bus was actually
Get on the
a really
Bus is
good
great.
one.
Clockers is great. I mean, there are some good films in there that will, as time goes on, they will age very well, and they will have a message that people missed the first time around. But he did himself no favors by crapping on one of the greatest entertainers of all time and one of the greatest money-making people of all time.
The biggest box office star in the world was a black man, and I recall he publicly shamed him for smiling in every movie poster.
Yeah, which is
and
nuts.
Then Eddie stopped smiling in posters. But it's like Eddie didn't have to be Denzel Washington.
No.
He could have just stayed Eddie and been the biggest star in the world, and it probably would have been better for everyone.
Right. And his ability to channel Jewish people is unprecedented.
You can see the love, right? You can see the love.
Absolutely.
Because when he was young.
He's from New Jersey. Of course he's going to have a sensibility about Jewish people. And I think that that's healthy. I think that that's great. How many Jewish people have gotten up there and sang a song written by a black person? These things are good. These moments of cultural cross-sectionality are healthy for us in our culture and our society. I mean, we need more of this. If only there was a podcast show that was capable of doing such things as well.
Well, geez. If there was.
Intercultural, interspecies.
Everything.
Well, that's the thing. Both of our cultures have been classified as different species anyway, where people are like, oh, don't go with those people. Don't breed with those people. Those people are disgusting. Those people are dirty. They should be
we were considered very dirty.
I learned the construct of a dirty human being through that's where I heard it. And
right, first the dirty Jew thing. Yeah, you heard dirty Jew before you ever heard.
Completely. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which was terrible. It was very hurtful.
I suppose. But it was not as subhuman. It wasn't calling them subhuman as much as other epithets. But I suppose it was pretty close. I don't know. I grew up in L.A., so...
It is a little bit cleaner and shinier. I was not anymore, though. It's a dump.
I was unaware.
Right.
I think I've told you that before. I was unaware. It wasn't until I had friends I made who moved here. Yeah. Because I really haven't left California.
I can tell because I've never seen you in anything but flip-flops. So...
I did wear flip-flops the other day for lunch.
You did.
I was just rushing. I was rushing.
Yes.
My bad. I do have nice shoes. I can wear shoes.
I believe you, but I have to explain you to people sometimes. They say, oh, Jeff's never left California. That's why.
Really? Did you have to explain me the other day?
In a matter of speaking.
All right.
Because it's, to others at times it might be a little odd.
I suppose.
A little bit. Is he doing okay? Pants. I mean, is he doing okay? Is he all right? Where does he live? And
I thought the embarrassing part is that my pedicure, I haven't had a pedicure for months. So,
that's a you thing. That's a you thing. How many people?
Look at the nail polish. There's one,
I know.
There's a tiny. I mean,
thought
honestly,
you stubbed
it looks
your toe. I thought you stubbed your toe.
It looks like I bruised the tip of my toe.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm pretty angry about it. I got to learn to do it myself.
I love the idea that you're concerned about pedicures.
And
you know what the prices are for a pedicure now? Post-pandemic, they're ridiculous.
Oh,
how can you even afford one?
I've never paid for one. I have the stepdaughter does it.
You know something? There are things about you that are disturbing, and I'm envious of them, and I hate you all at the same time.
So you hate me that I have a
yes,
built-in
I do.
free...
I do. I hate because I wish I had one.
It is nice to have
Absolutely, because who wants to do their own feet after the age of 40? No one.
I can't even reach them.
Exactly.
I'm going to pull a muscle.
You've got to go to a Pilates class only so you can clip your toenails.
It's also, amusingly, one of the few times she lets me take a photo of her now. Because you know how they get in, they don't take my picture. Mm-hmm. But when she's doing my nails, I'm like, can I take a picture of you doing my toenails and put it on Instagram? And she goes, yeah, just do it when I'm looking down so they don't see my face. Because, of course, as an American woman, she's been told, you know, that looks are everything, and that's a whole different subject.
Right, but has she been told, like, head down, doing something laborious? That's not a good look either. She looks like, you know, an immigrant, you know, or a serf.
She is. I know. We're dancing around the other word. Yeah. She's yeah. Well, she wasn't humanly trafficked to do my nails. Which if I could take that photo and, like, you know, propagate it throughout the internet, and people might think you could run it through AI and make her look
easily.
Like she's from Laos.
I can just post it.
She's a Laotian immigrant living in my home for free pedicures.
Boom, you're done. They would show up here, guns a-blazing, FBI, helicopters, everything.
No, they don't care about
Rachel
Asian women.
Maddow reporting on it.
Oh my God, film festival runner has.
You'd be toast.
Running, what do you call it? Black market salon out of backyard. The guy that
runs the Sherman Oaks film.
By the way, we have to do it in the backyard, of course, because the smell of the nail polish is nasty. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's what you learned about me. I shared something personal. That the reason. By the way, I think it's just kind of cool. I'll have a cool story for you. I was in Home Depot in flip-flops because it was summer.
Of course.
And an elderly Latin American gentleman came up to me, and he just goes, hey, how old is she? And I go, oh, she's like 14. And he's like, yeah, I let my granddaughter do my toenails. And I was like, oh, cool. I let my stepdaughter do my toenails. He's like, yeah, they really like it. It's fun. And I was like, I just bonded with a guy over the fact that we both have painted toenails by a young woman in our lives who, you know, if they say, I have a rule with kids. If it's not illegal, I generally say yes. Like, can I paint your toenails? Yes. You know, if she asks other adult males, they look at her and go, why would I want my toenails painted? But I'm like, I didn't want them painted, but now that they're painted, I like being a freak.
You realize there's a limited audience of people you can share this type of personal
I guess so.
story with.
I mean, it's interesting. I hope it's, if someone hears that I believe kids need to be valued and told that their ideas are worth trying, it's kind of what I'm doing.
Yes, in a very interesting coming in the window kind of way.
Yeah.
It's not front door. It's not That's for sure. Door. And I'm not going to call it back door. I'm going to say it's a window.
It's a window.
Coming in a window.
It's through the window. It's a baseball through the window.
Yes.
Same thing when it comes to where you're going to have dinner. What do you want tonight? You get to pick. I say the kid gets to pick. I want to empower this young person. That
is empowering them. And then they do your toenails.
And then
you completely.
Oh, well, you want Chipotle? Toenails painted first, then you can have Chipotle. I mean, got to have some reward system going.
Truly, you are a merciful
dictator,
fascist.
Oh, dear Lord. I wish I was.
You would be great at it in a very humorous way. It'd be funny. It'd be a bit.
I wouldn't kill enough people.
I know.
I try to have fun with it. I'd be like, seriously, have more fun.
Exactly.
No one is. Now it's illegal to work on Friday.
Mel Brooks presents Jeff Howard.
History of the Future. Part 17.
Part 17.
I didn't watch the one that they just brought back.
It was terrible. I was disappointed because I loved History of the World Part 1, and they had an opportunity to bring the whole franchise back, and they flubbed it.
And it didn't start with Jews in space, did it?
No, and you have to start everything with Jews in Space. When you're
that was one of the funniest things I ever saw at the end of the first one.
Funny. I vividly remember my mother howling out loud. I was with her the first time she saw it and encountered it with me. I mean, it was a tremendous bonding moment. Again, post-civil rights 70s and 80s, our sort of barometer was Jews. What they did or how people treated them or how people saw them or what jokes they thought were funny. I mean, we were all over that. We would just land in that world. And, we got a lot of it. And so Mel Brooks was a big part of my youth as well, from, Cleavon Little riding in, wearing Gucci on a horse in Blazing Saddles, all the way to Jews in Space. As well. And there's that shot in History of the World Part 1 where the guy's walking with the boombox on his shoulder and it's playing Funky Town. That's some good stuff right there. That is funny. We don't have enough of that anymore. And that's what was missing from this new incarnation of Mel Brooks's franchise. When we obviously could have used those kinds of jokes as well. That maybe you've got two guys, they've got one guy's, selling falafels, the other guy's selling chicken wings right there on the Gaza Strip in the middle of a war. That's kind of funny. The soldiers are coming over. That is kind of funny. No, but that's Mel Brooks humor. That doesn't exist anymore.
You're making me realize, obviously, like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Sure.
Loves Mel Brooks. And honestly, Larry David and DB Smoove are like, they are so funny
Smoked
together.
Just like out of the box, and far more engaging than any other comedy stuff that was happening at that particular time. And, Larry David is light years ahead of Jerry Seinfeld. And the only reason Jerry Seinfeld got to be Jerry Seinfeld is because Larry David was too ugly for TV in the early 90s and couldn't play opposite Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who was cute as a button in the early 90s as well. So that's all it was. But Larry David won the day in the end. I mean, and then before he passed, the guy that played Super Dave, when he was on there as well. Yeah. He was great. I mean, everybody on that show was great. And, unfortunately, some of the people have passed now, but
I know that's the problem.
Yeah, so it's a time capsule, but that show's going to live forever. Seinfeld, not so much. It's okay. Maybe.
I mean, I haven't revisited it for 30 years.
Easily.
20? Maybe 20.
Yeah. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the only person that truly survived that show.
That's true.
In a distant second, maybe
and
Jason
somehow,
Alexander and Jerry.
Yeah, but they both, for the amount of money they all made, she's the one who continued doing great work.
And she's going to do more great work. Like, she's not done yet.
Honestly, I thought Veep was just amazing.
She's amazing. Everything she does is amazing. All the way back to being on Saturday Night Live opposite Eddie Murphy in the beginning of his career as well. Yeah. I dream of the day that those two do a film together. If I was going to remake War of the Roses, those would be the two people that I would cast in those roles.
God, I'd love to see him in stuff like that.
Me too, because I think that's where he does his best work,
Yeah,
opposite Jews. I would throw him into every Jew movie that I could find. Eddie Murphy, you would make money, you'd print money. But we live in an industry that's afraid of two types of people, Jews and blacks. But they need Jews and blacks to drive the industry at the same time. It's kind of messed up, Jeff. That's why we're here with podcasts.
That's why we're talking about it.
This is always so rich and robust all the time, We're maligned and needed all at the same time. It's weird.
That nails it. Maligned and needed.
Yeah.
Maligned because we're needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't bother hating the people they don't need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing.
And what they never figured out, I have a memory of saying this to you before, but I remember once as a kid, for some reason, there was a thing on PBS that was 2 American comedians and 2 British comedians having a debate at Oxford over, is American humor or British humor funnier? And I don't know who I don't know who anyone was, but Alan King. Alan King was one of the Americans. And I never found Alan King funny,
Me
to be
either.
honest.
No one does. I don't think Alan King found himself funny.
But you know
Alan
what he
King's
said?
in heaven now, and God's literally looking at him going, "You're not funny.
You've never been funny." He was never funny, but he took himself... He was kind of like a Billy Crystal guy. He was sure he was funny.
Yeah, he took himself way too seriously with no talent.
But he lectured, so his debate portion, he came right out and said that American humor was the poor Jewish immigrants fighting to be recognized by society, and then the same with the black comedians. Mm-hmm. And that American comedy is comedy of the underdog, British comedy is comedy of the kids at Oxford and Eton who look down on everyone. So it's snobbery humor. It's punching down. American humor is punching up because it's always been an oppressed minority leading the charge in comedy. And that's always stuck with me. I'm like, that's what makes...
leading the charge of what's made this country great.
Yeah.
If you really think about it. If you took Jews and blacks out of the diaspora of America or American history, this whole country collapses.
Yeah, I know those.
And we're just a small percentage. I mean, how many Jews are in America? How many blacks are in America? But yet everybody thinks we're everywhere.
I know.
Like they act like you can't throw a rock and hit a Jew or a black.
13% black and like
exactly.
1 or 2%.
Exactly. There's like 47 of us here, and they think that we are like overrunning the country.
We're 15% of the country probably, and like there's groups, there's people in church every day going, you know what's ruining this country?
It's those Jews. It's those Jews.
15%.
Those blacks, they're everywhere now. You know,
if y'all motherfuckers could organize, there wouldn't be one Jewish person in Congress. But you can't stop us because we like to change from within. Ooh, we change things from within.
Exactly, because that's all you had. You're
well, we don't have enough people to go march.
No, you don't. And
they won't even let us go to class at UCLA. It's bad timing.
Yeah, it was a little rough. Too soon.
Well, I can't go near that topic personally.
No, that's where the ice gets thin for you. Well, I can't go near the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef because the ice gets thin for me there.
Yeah.
So I just say nothing. Yeah. When people ask me about it,
and neither of us are willing to do a cannonball onto that thin ice.
No, and I can't tell them my theories about the Tupac Biggie murders either. And I take a knee on the whole Puff Daddy thing, like, oh, I'm really sorry that he was arrested. I hope he's able to be cleared of all charges. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? Even though I have an opinion. I've seen some stuff. I've heard some stuff. But what am I going to do? I can't say anything.
Sometimes it's better to sit back and wait for more evidence.
Exactly,
because we all hear things, and we're pretty sure our bullshit meters are decent.
Right, and we've got good instincts here.
Okay, that's bullshit. That's probably true.
Exactly.
Should we talk about the redheaded child that wants to run the country, like sitting in a courtroom, like apparently cursing out loud that the truth is being said about him and acting like a petulant whatever, and it's like, I think we all pretty much believe the porn star.
Yes, that's where we are as a society, that we trust a porn star more than we trust our politicians. And the thing that I find to be astounding about the whole incident is that right-wing extremists would rather believe him than consider her or what happened to her.
Although they're a little proud, aren't they?
Well, they don't like women. Right-wing extremists don't like women. Because they don't like...
yeah, he was 60, she was 27, good for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, they live in that space, and it's also like we really love strip clubs, but we don't want women to be able to be in control of their own bodies as well, and we want to chip them when we get them pregnant.
I know. I heard Lawrence O'Donnell talk about, he kind of wanted to hone in on the no condom thing, that Trump would not wear a condom with a porn star.
And why isn't he dead already? Like, that's the thing.
And what that says about his attitude towards abortion. Like, clearly, he's paid for dozens.
How many? It's pure reckless speculation at this point.
Yeah.
But I would say, based on a preponderance of circumstantial evidence and behavior and peripheral testimony, he has been reckless and irresponsible for a very long time, and he has had many messes that he has had to privately clean up or mop up as well.
Yeah, and the only reason this became an issue is because they lied about how they spent the money.
Sure, exactly.
If they just admitted if they just used campaign funds and said it was for the campaign, it was legal.
Right, but no.
It's very funny.
Well, people that are dictators or fascists or are just straight up idiots, they make a lot of mistakes, like let's invade Russia in the winter. They make decisions that don't make any sense. Or my favorite of all time is actually Idi Amin when he decides that he is going to hijack a plane full of Jews in Uganda. And they go in and they just basically mop the floor with him and his Ugandan army, save everyone. Only one old Jewish woman dies because she's an old Jewish woman.
Yeah, her heart stops.
Her heart's exactly. Yeah. Everybody else got out.
And why?
But why would you do that?
And yeah, exactly. That's the why.
Do you realize you do something?
What was the benefit?
They're one of the greatest armies in the world,
and
they're coming for you. Like they're coming for you, and they're going to be relentless, and they're going to achieve their goals.
But it's like the 3 doors down. There's a German Shepherd.
Right.
For shits and giggles, I'm going to prove I can jump the fence.
Right.
Yeah. There was no reason.
No.
Just like I know you have me. It's funny throughout this chat. I always think of like the alternate realities and like, that doofus, that silly guy with the Chaplin mustache. If he doesn't invade Russia, he pretty much controls Europe.
He would have controlled.
From the coast of France, and Spain was in his back pocket, all the way to the Russian border. That whole thing would have been. Everyone would be speaking German today if he had left Russia alone. Because
they can't.
And the British would have. British would have stayed out. We would have never gone in if he'd left Russia alone.
They can't help it.
Can't.
There's something about being evil that is inherently flawed that ultimately always trips you up. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but it always, always, always happens. And it's an interesting sort of play about life. And I think that's why when we're growing up, our elders, our wise people around us say, you're probably better off being good. You're probably better off being nice. You're probably better off telling the truth, because somewhere down that path of the great lie and all of the bullshit, you're going to get yours. Or you're going to make a mistake, or you're going to have this horrendous miscalculation as well. So stop being a dick. And if you fly a plane at night, you should probably know how to use the instruments, or it could end up being really shitty for you. No matter how awesome or amazing or great you think you really are, one of the things that goes hand in hand with it is how you treat other people. Yeah,
it's almost higher power-ish, right? It's like,
I think so.
It's like the way the world's designed, the algorithms that launched this universe created by something, clearly like built it that like we can come close to breaking it.
Right.
But every time someone's about to break it, they're going to fuck up.
Exactly.
Because like you said, even if they were smart to start with, being surrounded by bullshit artists who lie to you to stay alive, in the end, you have, look at Putin. Everyone thought he was a genius. Everyone thought he was smart, his whole rise. But in the end, once you're surrounded by no contrasting opinions, let's just say, you lose the ability to function well.
Absolutely. In the beginning of my career, it was like, Sean Puffy Combs, he's a genius, he's a genius, he's a genius, he's a genius. And in my mind, I was like, this guy is sampling old Diana Ross tracks. How smart is he really? This is not going to work out in the end. This is going to flame out. And guess what? It has, and it did.
It really did.
Because he was never authentic, he was never organic, and he was never coming from a place of authenticity. And that is one of the essential key ingredients to, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. as well, lest we forget. But these people forget all the time because they're always, trying to hit the easy button.
Yeah, I was about to name all the other artists whose careers pretty much were rehashings of one artist, like they would,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Honestly, it's but there's no reason to go through the list. But that is, I guess it really began more in the 90s. Was it a 90s thing when they just started sampling entire songs?
Well, because the tech was there. The tech met the desire of evil. Why is Trump popular? Because the tech met the desire of evil. Without social media, this guy is just a loon. He's a clown. But he's able to change the narrative into a lot. He's sampling. Oh my God, he's sampling. He's accessing something that's not his, remixing it, and then putting it back out there as his, and people are believing it as his.
And it was actually because he arose during the era of old media when there was 3 networks, 2 or 3 newspapers of record, that he came out with a book that someone else wrote for him because he actually can't write a sentence.
Exactly.
With his ADD. Mm-hmm. He, not to put down other people with ADD, but he clearly can't function as a human, and he certainly couldn't write a book.
He's ADD and a sociopath at the same time. I think the issue is that he's a sociopath.
I mean, we all know, right? We've read the article. Like, the guy who wrote that book for him deeply regrets that he was able to sell him so well and lie. He lied for the guy, and he managed to get famous as something he wasn't, which was a success. And to this day, he's
Clive
a
Davis
phony
put on
success.
Shark Puffy Combs. There's always somebody there that if you went back now, they would say, I regret doing that. Clive is still alive. We could ask Clive. He'd say, I wouldn't do that again.
Maybe he'd be, hey, look, I launch a lot of people. Where they end up isn't my business.
I mean, Hitler got launched in a beer hall in Berlin during an insurrection because a couple of assholes thought, like, oh, yeah, this guy is great. We're going to, put him out there.
I walked the path. I went from the beer hall to the Platz, the piazza, the public square where the cops got killed, and he went to jail and wrote Mein Kampf for it. But I walked it when I was in Munich. I was like, I want to walk it. I wanted to see. And you just look around, and you're like, God, there was a fucking night. And then in whatever 1920, whatever. I guess it was before in the late 1920s. 23. Yeah, at Post, where a couple of World War I veterans, if people knew, if they just come out and beat the shit out of them the way we beat the shit out of Proud Boys when they show up somewhere, it would have stopped there.
Right. But for some strange reason, we have enough people in this society that say, give them a pass. They'll go away. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
And that was in Germany, which was the most liberal, open nation culture on earth, with a gay renaissance going on, and art and poetry and drama. It was the cultural hub of the planet.
Black music.
The Jews. Well,
they snuffed it all out.
If
once you have Jews and black music, it's over. You're like,
it's over.
You got to street sweep these people.
Look, if Hitler doesn't chase all the Jews out of Germany, then they get the bomb first.
Right. But that's my point.
Yeah.
Evil is stupid, and they make mistakes, and they make all of these horrendous oversights all the time. It's this constant overreach. We could talk about this with Napoleon. Currently Putin is doing it. I mean, how long are you going to keep trying to, keep your foot in the Ukraine's ass for what? As you deplete your military, and undermine your credibility.
Because he gave a speech a few years ago, we will recapture the land that was Peter the Great. Peter the Great?
That's like trying to win your ex-wife back who's already married to somebody else and doesn't care about you anymore. What are you doing? It's not going to happen. You can't go in and shoot up the place and take what you want.
It amazes me that there's, I got to assume there's assassination attempts all the time.
All the time. He can't wipe his own ass without checking the toilet paper. Are you kidding me? He's got to smell his toothpaste in the morning.
Why didn't anybody in Russia step up?
Because I think a lot of people all over the world with these types of individuals. They're just afraid. We live in a world now of just unbridled fear of everything. It's a world of neurosis, and a fear of failure, fear of not succeeding, fear of being caught, fear of what other people think, fear of being all these other things. People are like, if I can get a good job, I'll let it go. No big deal. They'll look the other way if you give them health care and dental.
So, got to move to Canada.
Exactly.
Oh, dear Lord. Those damn Canadians.
They got it right. They got
a lot right.
A lot right.
But
we ridicule them and put them down and call them soft and they're weird and all this other stuff. And it's just, we have maligned decency. Decency is perceived as weak,
Yeah, that noisy. Is it a third? Is it a quarter? What the people who consider woke a bad word? Like
those
it's
people
a successful,
are actually morons, and I can say that confidently.
Yeah.
For people that would think that,
like how many? Is it a quarter of our culture? Is it a quarter of our nation?
Woke?
That's anti-woke.
I'd say it's a quarter.
People who sit around and go, those woke idiots.
But they don't even know what they're talking about.
It's like, yeah, you actually think it's bad to be kind?
No, they're morons.
To be thoughtful?
Right. And it's a term that my grandparents used to say. It's a term that Thurgood Marshall helped to invent in the post-World War II era in America when American soldiers came back. And he literally said that now America is waking up and we have people in our society who are woke to the idea that Americans are here to protect the Constitution of the United States, and they deserve to be protected by the Constitution themselves. That's where it comes from. So anybody that's got a beef with the term woke, go talk to Thurgood Marshall. If you don't know who Thurgood Marshall is, Google him. He's a real person that once sat on the Supreme Court, not Clarence Thomas, who's a clown. So you have to take a position, and that's what being woke is. You take a position. You say, this is my lane, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to run this race right here. And you're going to have to get in the blocks and beat me. And that what they do is they're scared to get in the blocks and race you. Nobody fights me about what my perspective is. They just throw stones at me and say, oh, you're woke, or oh, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, I just care about everyone. And that makes me right. Period. How about that?
I know. I always try to get personal with people, with when friends, when they got upset about the pronoun stuff and this and that. And I was like, look, friend, I won't name him, but I was like, you have two adolescents, a teenager and another. You have a son who's a teenager and a daughter who's about to be a teenager. And if your son was depressed and suicidal because of his gender identity, I would prefer your son get help than commit suicide. And that's really what we're trying to do, is just be kind and helpful to people who are in a bad spot in a culture that doesn't welcome them.
Right.
And that's why I put pronouns in my signature, just to normalize it.
Just to be in support or in solidarity. Yeah,
because there is that. There's not a lot of kids, but there's enough kids.
There's enough.
There's more than enough kids, and I care about other people's kids.
Right. And apparently a lot of right-wing nut jobs don't, but then they say they care about the fetus and they care about human life, but apparently human life that is here and present and accounted for, that's paying taxes, that person they don't care about.
I'm so glad you triggered me with the word fetus, because I have a story that might make you proud of me. Because really, in the end, I just want to make you proud to be my friend. I was at my niece's college graduation in Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati, and there were protesters, of course, holding up posters of fetuses, the whatever you want to call them, anti-woman. I don't want to call them pro-life. But I couldn't help it. We were taking family photos, and there was a young man near enough to me, and he turned to me and said, he asked me a question. I said, wait. He asked me what I think of abortion. And I said, honestly, I'd like there to be as few as possible, and that's why I'm pro birth control. And he said, well, how do you feel about murder? I go, wait, let me ask you a question. Why are you here? Like, are you here because actually the nursing school had their graduation from, so I'm like, are you here because there's nurses and you think the nurses are going to perform these? He's like, no, actually we go anywhere where there's a crowd. I'm like, oh, so you hit the college football game too? He's like, yeah, the football games, everything, anywhere where there's people. And I said, and you think this is going to help your cause? And like, I couldn't help it. I couldn't help but interact with this kid. And then I just told him to have a blessed day and walked away because it was time for me to hop in a family photo.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you turned into a middle-aged black woman and said, you have a blessed day, and you walked away from him?
I have a friend who says that to me all the time.
That you're a middle-aged black woman?
And it's all I can do when I want to tell someone, when I want to punch someone in the if I need to punch them in the throat, I say have a blessed day, because it just makes me feel better. You should
speak at the Essence Festival in New Orleans.
I would be so welcome.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
You know,
but again, cross-sectionality, and the answer to that is kind of yes. Like, those things should be happening at all of these cultural festivals and things. And we should be talking to these asshole protesters instead of, because just telling them you're an asshole. Right.
Just, I kind of wanted him to know that I heard him, and I disagree with his methods more than his beliefs. Like, I actually don't have a problem with his beliefs. I just think if you want to save these unborn children, make sure they don't happen in the first place. Give out condoms left and right. Otherwise, you're anti-sex. If you're anti-sex because some ancient book written by, actually, like a quarter of the Torah is written by a woman. But anyway, not to that would piss off some of my Jews. But anyway, but like, why not be effective instead of just angry? It's kind of what I was trying to convince him.
Angry's easy. Angry's easy. This is all about, in the end,
ineffective. You never won anyone over with your anger, right?
They don't care. Just make it easy. Just give me what I want, and I don't have to do too much for it, and I'll look the other way.
I know. I knew better than to say to the kid, I agree with Obama, it should be legal and rare.
Where we were trending,
and we were getting there.
Yeah, we were getting there, and they don't want that. We were getting there with Dr. King, we were getting there with Kennedy. When we start getting there and get on the path, weird shit starts happening.
No,
right?
Well, now, yeah. Sir. Are we going to slide into the post-Obama letdown?
Oh, we're in it. Sliding. We've slid and hit the bottom, and now we're trying to crawl out of the tank, while, the dogs are nipping at our heels trying to drag us back down. I mean, that's what this whole year has been about.
And somehow 2 septuagenarians. It's come down to 2 baby boomers.
That's what it is.
Where the boomers are supposed to be gone by now.
But they're not. But that tells you who we are as a society, that we do not have the growth of new leadership because we curtailed it, because we knocked it down. We knocked it back.
Again, it's Hitler's fault for this whole baby boom. That generation just has their head up their ass. They think they're so fucking important. Okay. They think they've got to run shit.
Right. And so now we're all the way back to if he just hadn't invaded Russia. Right. Our whole consciousness revolves around that beer hall in 1923 and what went down and what happened in writing that book, Mein Kampf, and we've been like ass backwards
ever since. If he'd only gotten into art school.
If he'd only gotten into art school and made a bunch of shitty art that now we're paying, millions of dollars for, things would be so much better for all of us. And so ultimately he's just a disgruntled, angry little petulant boy, which exactly sounds like Donald Trump, by the way. I just realized that.
The lack of maturity is clearly part of the theme.
Totally.
That and liking when women shit on your chest. It's a rumor.
Nice.
Sorry, I had to go there.
You did.
I had to go there. Shiza, but that's really just Hitler, as far as we know. I love that. Remember Trump's response to the Russian pee video thing? He's like, I'm a germaphobe. I would never let a girl pee on me. It's like, yeah, but you would watch her pee on them. That's what you did. You want whatever. It's very funny. Or not funny at all.
He's pathetic. And if that was a black man or a Jew that has done half the things that he's done, they would not be in politics anymore. They would have been run out of town on a rail. And
Anthony Weiner did was send his wiener texts of. All he did was text pictures of his thing.
I get it. You know, and the only thing Colin Powell did was question, weapons of mass destruction, and he's not allowed to run for president. And the only thing that Condi Rice did was just be a woman. And that was a problem.
Actually, you made me think of Colin Powell a while back when we were talking about assassinations and things. Mm-hmm. And I remember clearly when the path was pretty clear for him to run for the Republican nomination, he didn't because his wife was too scarred by the assassinations of the late 60s. Yeah. And she's like, you will get shot. And honestly, we all thought that Obama might get shot, right? Like it seemed like a very possibility. My
grandmother was convinced, she would sit there and say, I'm just sitting here while I'm waiting for it.
Yeah.
Because she's like, this stuff happens on TV too. I mean, it's like, it doesn't happen always in the shadows either. Lincoln got it in the back of the head while watching a play. So many times it happens in public. So it does create a level of anxiety. And I think anyone should be concerned about that if they are operating from a progressive posture, I wish he possibly could or had run. It would have saved us a lot of stuff. But then again, if Bill Clinton hadn't been bleeping around with Monica Lewinsky, we could have avoided a lot of this as well. It really wounded the Gore campaign.
Gore would have won handily.
Would have won, and we'd be in a different place.
But he had to separate himself from the guy who was more popular than him.
Sure, exactly. But then again, if Kennedy's not shot, he obviously would have won for a second term, and then Robert would have won after that, and he'd have gone 2 terms, and then by then they'd have installed Martin Luther King as president of the United States in 1980. There you go. I said it.
You
Absolutely.
Did. And then my alternative universe history thing is that the motherfucking butterfly ballot in Florida that Gore lost, he did lose, but because that one county was like, oh, all our liberal old Jews are retirement age, it's going to be hard for them. Let's make the print twice as big. And then they put names on both sides and they punched the wrong hole. So it was actually a dishonest Democratic trick. I'm supposed to say Democrat trick, right? Because that's what they say. I'm going to become a fake conservative talking head. No, I couldn't do it. Colbert did that for a while. It was.
How'd it go for him?
Great, right?
Okay,
I mean, Colbert Report got him.
Yeah,
his the talk show.
Yeah,
I remember when talk shows mattered. I could not give 2 craps about any of the talk show hosts.
Well, because they don't really delve into politics or culture and society in a way that is meaningful. I think that they just consistently just keep trashing things. And
and we don't need the Tonight Show to know what's up with celebs.
Right, for whatever reason.
They all have their own social media. We're drowning in celebrity culture.
Exactly.
It used to be if they weren't on Carson, they weren't famous.
Exactly. But now that's like, whatever. That doesn't mean anything. There are people that are famous that are podcasters that have millions and millions of followers, and they don't need to go on, Fallon for anything. Fallon needs to go on their podcast show if we're going to be perfectly honest about this. The world has changed, and, people or media isn't pivoting along with it. And so we're at a lost in space stage right now.
It does feel like the mustard's off the hot dog.
Oh, it completely
but has it always felt that way?
No, there were times when it was clicking on all cylinders and everything was locked in, I would say that was the case in some eras in the past. Definitely the Beatles Motown era, everything was locked in. I think at the dawn of the rock and roll era, everything was locked in. There was a point in time in the 70s. I think you can split the 70s in half as the power rock and things like that in the early 70s. And then we just, end in a flurry and flourish at the end of the 70s being super gay and clubby. And then I think the era
which was a fascinating turn that that gay culture dominated disco
and dominated
yet
pop
still,
music.
and pop music, everything popular, and yet they managed to trick straight America or straight culture into not knowing. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like there were people who didn't know that YMCA was
Gay.
about hooking up.
Super gay. It was like the gayest thing ever.
The gayest, written by
gays, performed by gays.
Gay Frenchmen, right?
Yes.
The gay Frenchman who wrote it. And
But the same guy on the same record label, Casablanca, as Donna Summer, Giorgio Moroder is the genius of all of that as well. But not American, German.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah, I mean, European disco music, I mean, so much of it, the production of it came from Europe. You know, it was the perfect sort of storm as well. And then, of course, the 80s, beginning of the 80s is Britpop, and then, you know, by the end of the 80s, it's hip hop and hair bands and power rock, and then that all, you know, gets knocked sideways.
Finally fragmented, right? Fragmented, and then because hip hop finally became
a thing that wasn't going away.
It dominated,
Right.
the whole thing of it was a trend. Nope, not a trend. Yeah. It's standing on its own 2 feet.
Completely.
And now you have separate worlds of music, like just like country and western.
Sure.
Always going to be there.
Sure, yeah.
I really can't listen to it. I guess there's some good stuff.
When it melds itself with other genres, I find it to be quite delightful. But on its own, no. It's not my thing. It's rare. Now and then, maybe sometimes, I don't know. I'm more of a Willie Nelson kind of guy if I'm going to necessarily go there. But I don't have a lot of staying power with it. It's if you and I were on a road trip, we would probably, after 2 or 3 songs, we'd be like, dude, we got to change this. You know, we'd move on to something else. Put on some of that Jew black music, you know.
Some of those white British guys playing the blues.
Exactly. My personal favorite.
It's just amazing to me what happened with blues, with the whatever.
And then we pretend like it didn't really happen, and somehow it just came out of whiteness, which it didn't.
No. It was the before appropriation was coined.
Right.
It was constant.
Right. And if you bring up the issues of appropriation, then you're woke.
Oh yeah.
So they just woke. Nailing people to the cross about the woke issue is just trying to give these other people license to do whatever the hell they want to do.
Right. You're approving the theft.
Right. And so I just let them know. I just say, okay, fine. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do. And I'm not going to have any consideration for you at all. And I'm not going to worry about you, So how about that? And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Why do you have to be like that? Why can't? So you want to be included in my world. You want to be respected in my world, but you don't want to respect my wishes. Or what about my world that I really like as well? I'm not doing that. And they get really upset when you're empowered. They get really upset when women are empowered. They get really upset when Jews are empowered. They get really upset when minorities and all of these other people, trans people especially.
They get really upset when they don't feel that they are empowered.
And then they feel like something's being taken from them. Like, oh, well, black people now, they dominate golf and they dominate tennis. I'm like, that's because you suck, okay? Like, whatever. At the beginning of the 1950s, there were no blacks in the NBA. By the end of the 1960s, the NBA was black. You know something? That's a you thing. That's something that you should work on. Baseball is very diverse and multicultural now. The best guy in baseball is an Asian dude, okay? Like, that's the world we live in. Stop whining and complaining that you just want to be mediocre and be at the top. It doesn't work that way in anything in life. And so they have this fear that these other people are overrunning everything, and they're not. They're just working harder. Some of the most laziest people I know are white, cisgendered, Christian, white dudes between the ages of 25 to 65. I can barely have them around them in my life because they don't work. They're lazy. They create distraction. They whine. They're soft. They don't bring anything to the mix. They're not creative, and they're going sideways, and they're thinking about the past rather than looking forward. And I have to run a business, and I have a career, and I have a brand. And guess what? They don't do anything to be a part of it. And I get way more out of other people And I fill my white male quotas by hiring gay white men. Done. We're over it. We're out. So they'll have to try to
fill that quota.
Exactly. So they can drag me into court based on some sort of discrimination charge or whatever, and they can whine at me and say, "You're not hiring white men who are Christian and allegedly cisgendered and heterosexual."
I mean, that was because I grew up in the Soviet Republic of California. I was completely ignorant of the fact that there were people, because I grew up in a world where we were taught the melting pot of America and taught the multiculturalism of America and taught that it was our strength.
Yep.
And so to learn that there were people who said it's a white Christian nation for white Christians.
They're loons.
And that it has to be, and it should be a man with a wife who is a maid and sex partner. Like the fact that exists, I still can't wrap my head. Like, it's just, I guess it's as insane to me as being multicultural and thoughtful is to them or something, because it just shocks me. It just wasn't part of my life. I was never in an all white environment, so I never thought this was an all white, all Christian country.
Right, because there's no such thing as an all white environment. There never has been an all white environment.
No.
And this myth that they have created about whiteness, and then where is the line of demarcation of whiteness?
And they felt superior just because the most powerful nations on earth beat the shit out of each other in the 30s and 40s.
Exactly.
As well as, every powerful nation fucked themselves up over 2 to 3 decades. And then America was the strongest country on earth by default, not by
because
earning it.
Because they
by
had two
geographical default.
That's it. That's all it was. Geographical default. That's all it was. And so we've been living in this illusion.
Yeah.
And
like you said, they're lazy because we could have the most cars in the world.
Sure.
Because no one else could make cars.
Right. But we didn't have the trickle-down effect with opportunity either. It stayed at the top. We have, that top 2% has all the money and has for generations. And, so I have a friend, she's Asian American, and she's like, the only way to move up in America is you gotta marry somebody white and rich. There's a lot of truth to that. She makes another joke.
It's a shortcut.
She says, when you see a person of color walking around in Malibu, they're married to a white person. Like, those are her punchlines. And they're very funny and rather apropos and relevant.
I know George Foreman Jr. lives out there. But I don't know who he married.
Yeah,
but he's out there from his dad's money. Yeah.
Well, yeah, George Foreman Sr. took a lot of hits to the head in order for him to go live in Malibu.
Yes, he did.
Right, in that line of, this is what you're allowed to do, big, black, strong, black man. What if George Foreman had said, you know what I really want to do? I want to be an ichthyologist. I want to study fish.
Yeah.
They'd have been like, George, get your 6'4", 280-pound ass out there in the ring and start punching people to death. They would have never let him do it. They don't encourage young black men to do anything except what they want them to do. Dunk a basketball, be a garbage man. That's it. That's insane. Everything that I am as a person has had a lot to do with being self-motivated. I had very few people in my life that were like, you could be anything that you wanted to be if you just work hard. Here, let me help you. Here's and who did help me? Jews. Who was encouraging to me? Jews. Who were the people that protected me when I first got into the business? Jews. Took me another win? Jews. Took me to dinner? Jews. Introduced me to sushi? Jews. That's it. That's the truth. So I'm beholden to them. So every Jewish kid that comes to my office, I sit them down and I tell them the tale. And I say, I'm here and I'm obligated to do something for you because I was asked by old Jews to play it forward. And they said, someday there's going to be these Jews that are going to come into your office and you're going to be older and we just want you to mentor them and take care of them.
They actually, they told you that. You.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much of myself is a manifestation through Jewish culture because I grew up in the Northeast. And they appreciate that and they love that. An old Jewish woman came up to me the other day and said, I used to work with Sidney Poitier and I've been watching you walking around the festival and you remind me so much of him. Right.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, it was. That's a nice one to hear. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're having this huge Jewish black person bonding moment again, you know? That's amazing. She was an actress, and she's been in some movies. She had been in a couple movies with Sydney back in the day as well, so they were buddies.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and so that I struck something inside of her by acting like a dignified human being, you know?
Yeah, and she encountered a genius and bonded. Yeah,
Exactly. So that's what this is about. This is about, you know, caring and sharing and playing it forward and all this other stuff. And these people that are anti-wokers, they don't want that responsibility. They don't want that obligation.
Well, and
they
as
don't
you
want to be
pointed
obligated
out,
to other people.
Their sauce is weak, so they can't. They are afraid of a meritocracy. Totally. They pretend they want meritocracy, and they pretend, oh, you're giving out quotas and shit, and you're trying to what is the asshole I went to high school would say? Like you're demanding equal results, not equal opportunity. Like, no, we're demanding equal opportunity.
Right.
The results can be the results.
Sure.
But you're afraid of a meritocracy.
Right.
Because you know your kids won't be top of the class if it were.
You'll get swallowed.
And the point is, it won't matter who is smarter than your kid.
Right.
It'll be someone else. Maybe your kid will be the smartest kid in school. I don't know, but if it were pure meritocracy, if you didn't feel that your kids had an advantage, well, I forgot where I was going with it, but that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of losing because the game is always rigged.
Something that they never really had. Something that was totally an illusion.
If it's fair, right? Because it was rigged in their favor,
right?
And now that it's not always rigged it's frequently rigged in their failure.
Exactly. So they know no other world. They're like all of those replicant guys running around, you know, trying to kill Keanu Reeves that are like, you know, good evening, Mr. Anderson. We're here to destroy you. You know, that's who they are. That's who they are. They're all replicant. They're all white. And they're all chasing down all of the people of color. And then all the people of color, you know, with the Oracle, who's an old black woman, and they're fighting their way to get to the evil person who runs the whole thing, and it's a guy that looks like Colonel Sanders that's sitting in a room with a bunch of television sets. That's the world that we live in. That's the one that's been created. It's like when we were out the other night, you know, the old black man that came up on stage and was talking after the other comedians had come in and kept identifying you as Jeff Bezos or the white guy on the front. And then he looks at you and he says, "You're not white, are you?" And you go, "No." You shook your head. You shook your head. No.
He said, "Yeah, you're not too white for a white guy."
You're not too white for a white guy, right?
And I was like, "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said."
Absolutely, exactly.
Especially coming from him.
But the old black man's like, "That's not a white guy. That's not our enemy. That guy's not a problem."
Yeah.
I think that guy's friends with the other guy sitting next to him.
Yeah, although maybe he didn't even know that, but yeah, that was interesting.
Right, that was fascinating.
Believe me, I would almost want to say, like, what was it? was it that I look a little Middle Eastern, maybe?
That's part of it.
Is it the look, or is it just the fact that, like, I was laughing and showing respect to the people on stage?
And you were being woke, and you were being respectful, and people don't know how to handle that. They don't know how to deal with that. And they immediately manifest what these right-wingers want them to: go on the attack, destroy. They're commanding them. It's like this Geppetto thing that's going on. They've got little strings attached to them. And they don't even realize it, that they are undermining their own, you know, level of opportunity and ascension at the same time. It's very plantation-y. You know, there's a lot of...
A lot of our culture is still locked on the plantation.
Yeah, I mean, like, you've grown up around plenty of Jewish people that are like, "I'm Jewish, but I don't really want to talk about it." Right?
Yeah. I don't really practice.
And they're just like, "What are you doing? And why are you making all of these excuses? And why are you confessing all of this? You know, like, what are you doing?" It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I admit it. I annoy myself sometimes by noting my Jewish. I got to start mentioning it less, but it's very funny.
Why?
On my tennis team, I was just last
Do you think
week
that I
on
would
a
do a
court
podcast
with
a white dude? You think, like, seriously? I'm just asking, I'm being honest. This is going to come off as completely culturally biased.
Oh, you wouldn't do one unless he was a...
Dude, really? Okay.
But none, or
who's
you gotta
the
just
white
make sure
guy
they're
that
all
I
right
could sit
first.
opposite with and do a podcast with, and it would actually be interesting and compelling and positively life affirming every single time that we do it that I get so excited about it. I run behind you and I bother you. When are we going to do the next podcast? No.
Well, I'm an above average white guy, I guess.
There you go. You should put that.
Above average. But again, the Klan doesn't think I'm white. A lot of people wouldn't think I'm white. No,
you're the first to go with the Klan. They can figure out something to do with me. They're like, hey, son, what about this football? Can you do that?
And I did take a picture with Keegan-Michael Key once, and we look like twins.
Mm-hmm.
So
you definitely look like you're in the family with him. There's no question about it.
Actually, I took a Black Studies class in college.
Shocker. I'm so surprised. Yeah, and I took an Eastern European Studies in class.
And the first day they put us in groups.
Yeah.
And to talk. Mm-hmm. And I got paired with this black dude, and he looks at me and goes, "You look like you got something in you. I wanted to be paired with that guy who looks super white. I wanted to give him a piece of my mind, but you seem okay." And I was like, "Well, you can give me the piece of your mind if you want," but
and he's like, "No, it's not the same."
He gave me a fucking pass. He gave me a fucking pass.
You get the pass. You get the pass. You get the pass.
It was.
You would walk into my parents' house and he'd be like, "Oh, hey, get the pass."
No, because you guys welcome my people.
Yes, they were instrumental for us freeing ourselves from those people too.
It was a hell of a bond. I mean, it is kind of.
It's tenuous.
It's kind of dormant, maybe. I'd like to call it dormant, not dead.
Because of the media world around this. Like, the media has polarized this, these lies and all this other crap and fear and anxiety.
Well, and it's compliment, right? Like, in a way, the black community doesn't need the Jewish community like they did in the 70s.
They just need them in a different way.
But they
still need them.
But like 60s, 70s, like we need
finance and distribution, Jeff.
Well, but also you needed us to march with you, and you needed us to be there. And Tom Bradley was mayor of LA for ages because he had the support of those two communities.
Exactly.
And we made sure that we had a good city with that.
Right.
And now, we cheer from the back. We're like, we know we're not that important.
You're a lot more important than you realize, and I think about it all the time, especially in my creative and what I do, and I'm going to share a story. I was shooting one of my many documentaries, and I interviewed this Jewish kid during the pandemic who was starting college at the University of Georgia, and we were all still sort of, the mandated, rules of the pandemic, 6 feet and all the other stuff. And we had to be outside, so I interviewed her outside, and she gave one of the most incredibly stirring interviews I ever did with a young person in my life. And she was Jewish, and she talked about her identification with black culture and her level of obligation that she feels to other people of color, specifically black. She got it.
Yeah.
She understood it.
She was educated well.
Exactly. And she wants to be someone who steps up and stands out and wants to walk, shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm again. And I think that we do need more of that now. And I think that would be really important. And that would be an incredible news event if these organizations that once walked together walked again. We don't need people in the background golf clapping, from the back of the room. We all got to get in there. We got to fight for each other. That's how we're going to beat.
We do, because we're under threat.
Exactly, and that's why they keep hurling the anti-woke bombs at us and stuff like that to keep us confused and keep us fragmented and scattered.
I almost brought in that current topic that I can't touch, but I do think that the rise of anti-Semitism that we're experiencing,
it's all correlated. It correlates in a bigger picture
to them losing control
completely, and they're going to do whatever they have to do. If they thought they could keep control of the United States by running up and down the street in their underwear, they would do that. They'll do whatever they have to do. They'll say whatever they have to say. They will bleep the bleep out of anybody they have to in order to keep themselves number one.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they're not.
They're not. They never have been. That's the thing. This is all a lie. This is all a great illusion. This is a joke. This is not real. We keep changing history, keep changing the history books over and over and over again. It's just getting harder and harder to do it because everybody has access to so much information now. So now when you say you want to ban a book and stuff like that, you look like a dickhead. But the reality of it is that we have to stay the course, and we have to keep ourselves educated, and we have to keep, as these old Jewish people told me when I was a young black man and they were the ones protecting me as I was moving through the business, we have to play this forward. That's what's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You brought up you said book banning, and I thought to myself, it is always funny. They want to ban books for being true.
Right. They don't ban the false books.
If there was a flat Earth book,
they don't ban that.
I would be in favor of banning
Me
it.
Me too. Absolutely.
That should not be anywhere near.
Right.
But
right. The autobiography of Jeffrey Epstein, I think we should ban it. But they're not going to do that. And they're going to keep making documentaries, and someone's eventually going to make some sensationalized movie with an aging Brad Pitt playing Jeffrey Epstein. Like, that's where we're headed. Oh, that's a good one. But but that's the world that we live in. We're just constantly pushing and promoting the darkness because we don't know how to make the light marketable anymore.
Right, salaciousness.
We've lost our ability to be able to do it. How many Jews wrote really great songs back in the 50s and 60s and 70s that were all about the light and wondrous stuff, and they made a ton of money? Where are those people now? And then we would go get some black person to sing the song, and it'd be awesome.
I mean, my big flaw in the New York Times crossword is when it's a Taylor Swift song.
Yes,
because I don't know any of them. But there's positivity in her work, right?
There is. There is a positivity, and there's a light.
Good place.
Yeah, I think so. We just need more of them.
We need more of that. Yeah.
My issue with these artists, like
is women,
Taylor
right?
Swift,
Beyonce. Women are leading the way.
Women are the only way. There is no other way. The men are like having the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef. And these, rock and roll guys can't get their heads out of their ass. They don't know how to do it anymore.
They really don't.
It is the women. It is the women. It's all women. But the thing is that they can't. Women. The only question or issue I have with women is that they think they can save the world and they can't. We save the world together. Women need men to save the world, just as men need women to save the world. Just as we need all of these different cultures, and we need the transgendered people too. We need everybody on board to save the world, and we need to start to move into a space. So I think Taylor would be great if she said, hey, I'm going to start another division, and I'm going to start promoting other artists, and I'm going to be an executive producer, and I'm going to create a diaspora of talented artists. What if Berry Gordy had said, I really like songwriting, I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to keep pushing my career. He didn't. He pivoted, and he said, I'm going to bring in all of these other super talented people, because without that, we wouldn't have had, the Stevie Wonders, the Dianas, the Marvins, the Four Tops, the Temptations,
all of it.
The Jackson 5, like all of it. We have to play it forward. It's my only criticism of Taylor. She doesn't play it forward. She plays it too much into herself, and everybody follows her, and she's turning herself into a deity. And that's what these right-wing nutjob fascists fear, that type of attitude. That's why they're scared of her.
They're scared shitless of her.
Shitless of her.
She's a white Christian girl from Tennessee.
Exactly.
And she should be on their side.
And white, and should be on their side. And she's not.
She's not, thank God.
Right.
Thank God.
Thank God, but it's now time for her to diversify.
Is she 30? I don't
33,
know.
Early
33.
30,
So she's, maybe by 40, maybe she will do what you're talking about.
Yeah, but, she could do it now, but, she's on one right now, and good for her. But the thing about it is that we need more of these people with power, specifically these women with power, that are going to say, I'm going to start to diversify, and I'm going to start to bring in and support new voices. For whatever reason, that's not happening. It
isn't. You're right. And she could definitely
easily. She could have her own film company. She could have her own distribution platform. She could have like Taylor Swift, streaming, and have movies and TV shows, and she could do it all.
Well, maybe she'll be like, okay, well, I've now, I don't know what she's worth, but okay, I'm worth $500 million.
She can leverage.
To be worth $600 million is not even worth it.
Yeah.
Like now I can focus on other people's success.
Exactly. And people have to live their careers the way that they do. But one of the things that's been very true in the last couple of generations is that we have these navel-gazing artists that are super popular, the Michael Jacksons, the Madonnas, the Princes, and stuff like that, where they're just always like, me, 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 me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't end well.
No.
Because of those three people, two of them are dead, and one, I think, is just kind of sort of walking dead.
It's funny. One of the things, I follow a lot of silly Beatles groups on Facebook, but one of them is devoted to the artist that the Beatles started. Mm-hmm. And like, it was quite a few people. Like, even though Apple Records wasn't around for too long, like, man, anybody with talent who managed to get a meeting with them in London got a record, right?
Right.
Because they were like, all right, we built up this power. We can do whatever we want with this contract with EMI to release our record. So, yeah, just a lot of great stuff came from that.
Exactly.
Stuff I didn't even realize.
Right. Exactly. And it's unfortunate that it did end. What if it had hung around, Motown Records got sold in the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all these things that they bust them up, break them up for all of these reasons. They keep everything sort of fragmented in order to maintain their power at the top of the structure. Imagine if, you could work for Taylor Swift and you could create content for Taylor Swift or whatever, that'd be great, rather than you like fist fighting with, your current relationship with their streaming platform that Discover Indie is on. You could get more, do more, and then they wouldn't say things to you like, well, we don't want a season of just dancing.
Oh, my God.
Exactly. Okay, if Taylor had her own streaming platform, she would be really excited that you had an entire season of dancing. It's messed up.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell, whatever. You're totally right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Who knows where she'll go? I kind of I keep a good attitude towards these young artists.
You should.
Until they prove themselves
you
otherwise.
have to. You have to give people the benefit of the doubt. And, we're just in a space right now where we're ready.
And I always despised the baby boomers for hating Gen X, just for being younger than them.
It's petty.
They hated us just for being younger, and just for having, once our ideas were better than theirs, they had to shit all over.
We're the original innovators.
I look at the people younger than us, and I'm like, you do you succeed.
Me too.
I refuse to talk to you the way that baby boomers talk to us.
Exactly. And I'm not jealous of them either. I like me. I like what I do. I like being a part of the MTV generation. I like what I know and what I learned and what I remember from the 20th century. I'm proud of it. And I know that every single time I go to my Spotify and I want to listen to some songs, and I can go back in time, and I will listen to all kinds of stuff. I will listen to a Marvin Gaye track. I will listen to a Linda Ronstadt track. I will listen to some Brit pop. I will listen to a Run DMC track. I do it all. Those kids today, now I sound like an old Jewish person, they don't know that kind of music. They don't know where to go source it out. They don't know what they're listening to. They have no idea. They're missing so much amazing content, art that has already been created because they listen to this hyper electronic garbage all the time.
Without curation, right? It's algorithmic curation,
right? Which isn't the same.
It's not.
It's the discovery that what cassette tapes did you have lying around that followed you around forever?
And you put it on and it played through.
And you listened to it from head to toe.
My kid, her idea of listening to music is being on YouTube and choosing one song after another. I'm going to choose every song. I'm like, wait a minute. She'll play me stuff, and I can't name it, but like talented young artists. She'll play in the car because I always give her, she's the DJ. I'm like, you're in control of the music. Play stuff for me. And when something's good, I tap on it and I add it to my library.
Right, that's what I do too. I Shazam it.
But I go, I want to listen to this person's whole album. Just start the album and let it play through. And to her, that's
anathema.
Can't do it.
She's like,
no, I want to play a different song now. I'm like, but they made an album.
Exactly.
And I do weep over the loss of that longer form.
Right.
Because,
they don't know what deep cut is,
Well, and if all you like is the hit, I mean,
that's all they like. They like the hits.
How can I say that's not rude? It's
impossible.
Greatest hits albums the old joke. It's actually, well, I can get away with it because I'm quoting Kids in the Hall, which was there was a guy working at a record store, and a guy said something like, "Do you have so and so's greatest hits?" And the guy behind the counter just goes, "Greatest hits albums are for housewives and little girls." Very sexist comment, but I'm like,
but apropos,
can I say something shitty about someone I hate? Okay, well, there's someone I hate who claims to be a Pink Floyd fan.
Right.
Has one album, the best of Pink Floyd. I'm like, you're not a Pink Floyd fan.
Right.
You don't know the album tracks.
Right.
You don't know. Yeah, I could name. You should be ashamed. You don't call yourself a fan if all you got is greatest hits.
We live virtue signaling. We live in a performative society or culture. So the goal is to just say, I'm a Pink Floyd fan. See, I have the T-shirt. I'm good, right? That's it. That's all you need. You don't have to know the catalog. You don't have to have experienced
I play the game.
catalog.
Whenever someone wears the shirt, I go, "Can you name 3 songs?"
No, because they love the artwork. That looks so cool.
It just looks cool in the retro.
Yeah, I mean, they're like black kids wearing Metallica T-shirts. I do the same thing, you know. And I go like, "Do you know any tracks from Metallica?" No. Or they wear Nirvana. I'm like, no. Well, Smells Like Teen Spirit. I have no idea what that is. That's their most famous song. You have no idea.
Yeah, but they don't know the name of the song. Yeah, like they'll say, the Lights Out one.
Yeah, whatever. Like, give me a break.
Because it's not an obvious title. They never say the words.
No.
I know Zeppelin did that too. When someone wears a Zeppelin shirt and I go, name 3 Zeppelin songs, they go, well, Hey Hey Mama. I've heard that.
That's really mean. That is this.
And I'm like, okay, you'd never know it, but the name of that song is Black Dogs or whatever. Yeah, I'll let you already showed me you're not a music fan.
Exactly.
It's fashion, like you
Zeppelin
said.
Sampled Little Richard, too, if we're going to go deeper and deeper. It just gets crazier and crazier, but they're not interested in knowing these things. Society's not interested in teaching them these things, so they can keep them all soft, mushy-minded, so they can be controlled and navigated, so these weird 2%ers at the top can keep controlling everything.
Yeah. And then if you read the great book SPQR, which is the history of Rome, Senatus and Proletariat, something Roma, was that even when you're in Rome, like the manhole covers have SPQR on them still. And that is exactly why Rome turned to a dictator named Julius Caesar, was that the top 1% got too greedy. And all the people they sent to wars didn't have enough food to eat until they rebelled. And they were like, let's get rid of democracy and go with a dictator because he's saying what we want to hear.
Yep.
And I'm scared shitless, actually.
You should be. That means you're alive. Okay? If you weren't scared shitless.
I know.
You know, but this is it. This is exhilarating.
I got about 30 years left on this planet. And I'm like,
I don't know. Maybe
damn,
you don't know
30 ain't long enough.
Well, you know that because you've done 30.
30's too long.
Well, you've done 30. You know what 30 looks like. So now it's weird for you. You're in that weird zone.
I mean,
what's this next 30 gonna be?
I don't want the next 30 to be sliding down, Bandini Mountain, which is a reference to a commercial probably only you and I see.
Exactly. Thank you, Bandini Mountain. You're not, because of the amount of wisdom you have accumulated in the previous 30 years. You're going to be a lot more in control of what's going to happen to you. Now, those that have been asleep at the wheel that are in your same demographic for 30 years, they're fucked. It's going to be really hard for them to continue to move forward. You're always going to bounce back. You're always going to be able to play hard in the fourth quarter down by 10. You're going to be good. Some of these other people around you, not so much,
Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood because your mouth to the universe's ears because I need. I'm less confident.
You run 2 film festivals. You've got a streaming platform. You continue to aggregate a lot of interesting people into your life. You're still doing it. You're alive. People think you're Jeff Bezos.
Well, that's just
stuff. But that's an energy.
By the way, he's not one of my people.
I know, but it's an energy. But you look like somebody that fucking matters. People perceive you as someone of gravitational pull and gravitas. That's a lot, especially in this town where everybody is dismissed offhand. People look at you and go, that's somebody.
They can be wrong. That's okay.
Listen,
I think people say that about you, too.
At times, yes. But it helps when I sit next to you, apparently, in nightclubs. It just enhances my whole...
It was... when we got seated in the front row,
which was
of
deliberate.
the belly
Looking
room,
back now, it was deliberate. That was
it was like, put the white guy in the front row.
We were plants. You know?
We were planted.
They wanted us there. Yeah.
That was fun. That was great.
It was great. It was awesome. It was
the level of talent was so high. Unbelievable.
Exactly. So I guess we should promote it for the show.
Should we promote it? Yeah,
absolutely. Thursday nights, the Belly Room on the Sunset Strip at the Comedy Store at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Fantastic.
Generally better comedy than you're going to see anywhere else.
Exactly.
And to be honest, I hope I'm allowed to say it.
Yes.
Like when we were in the hallway and I could hear who was in the main room.
Right.
That guy was boring.
Boring. Not funny.
Not funny.
Not funny.
The people in the belly room
funny.
Talking to 40 people are hilarious.
Hilarious.
The people who have to tone it down for the 300 in the main room.
Right.
Boring.
But that's who you are, and you want to get to the main room, but you want to be with the people that know what the hell they're doing, and how do you get these people with you from the small room to the big room? That's why we're all doing this together. That's why we're all working together as well.
And it can work.
It is working.
Like it can work, yeah.
We just need money. This is all. The answers to all of your problems is money.
Always.
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 Yes. And I learned that from a wise old Jewish man.
That is where you are much wiser than I am. Mm-hmm. Because my impression is that you deal with your funding first.
Right.
And I have the lack of wisdom of dealing with the idea first. I have the idea and I want to see it happen. And then, I run a film festival that loses money the first 3 to 5 years, and then we turn it around like after a couple years in.
Sure. And now it is. I mean, the Sherman Oaks Film Festival is significant, and people talk about it all the time.
They're
and
growing.
I can proudly say that, I know the person that runs it. And people are impressed.
And we're, but it's still, little niche. Little niche off in the corner,
It's growing. It's I have friends now that come to me and say, like, hey, I'd love to submit to that festival. Like, who do I talk to or whatever? And I said, well, I'll put in a good word for you with Jeff. We'll see. So that's nice. But that's what this is really all about. We have to create our own worlds, our own ecosystems, moving forward if we want to all be a success. We're all going to march from Egypt to Mesopotamia together. Don't run off into the desert. Let's all stay together. You can't do it. You can't do it alone.
That's true.
Exactly. So
community, that is what it's about.
Community first. Yeah. What has been the survivability of your culture for thousands of years? Community. What has been the survivability of my culture for thousands of years? Community. What is the thing that we lack the most in America right now? Community. Eat that, Donald Trump, you dickhead.
Yeah, seriously.
And I realize to certain people that's being very disrespectful. That's disrespectful. But he's disrespectful to a lot of other people.
Well, he doesn't even respect the communities that support him. No, and he has no communities.
Yeah, he doesn't.
You're right. He's sociopathic because he's isolated and abused by daddy and blah, blah, blah. We all know the profile. But that's true. It's the lack of community is dangerous.
Right.
People who lack a community are dangerous,
and they
become incels.
Sure, they turn into Papa Doc, Idi Amin, Adolf Hitler.
Boy, Trump without
Napoleon.
money would have never gotten laid. I'll tell you that.
True that. True that.
Though in his defense, he wasn't ugly as a young man.
No, he wasn't, but he was a jerk then too.
Yeah,
and women don't like jerks. Okay. Facts.
Not when they're poor.
Exactly. If you're going to be a jerk, you better have some money.
And most women have excellent taste, but we all do know there are women who
don't.
Who say, I don't like him a lot, but he takes me to the most expensive place.
And if that's their thing, that makes you Melania. But at the same time,
but there is I know it's funny. One of the I'm jumping on this moment to bitch because all the libs I know who like are always like free Melania, you can tell Melania. I'm like, stop lying to yourself that Melania is not in on this. Melania,
she's making money.
This is exactly what she set out to do.
She's being paid.
She's not secretly wanting to leave the guy.
No.
She went in. She knew exactly what she was getting,
right.
and this is what she wanted. This is what she moved from Slovenia to New York City. This was her prize, and she's all in on it.
Right.
She may hate being public and everyone thinking of her the way they do, but whatever. She's not secretly waiting for him to die.
No.
She's doesn't have to spend any time with him.
Exactly. She just wants to make sure she doesn't, because she doesn't want to be buried next to Ivana on the golf course, because that's where he'd put her. That's where Ivana is. Trump.
The first one passed?
Yeah. She fell down some stairs like 2-3 years ago.
Oh my God, I've missed that.
Oh my God, where have you been?
Where have I been?
Man. Oh, yeah.
The original blonde wife.
Yeah, she's gone.
The original.
She's gone.
European model.
Yeah. Marlon Maples is still around.
Yeah.
But number one is gone, and he had her buried without an autopsy, and she's buried on his golf course in Mar-a-Lago.
Really? Yes. So the kids can visit? That's creepy.
Dude, he's hiding evidence, DNA,
so
secrets,
creepy.
all this other stuff. Yes, it is. It's very creepy. It's OJ saying that he's not going to rest until he finds the killers. I mean, come on, man. For reals.
Our dear sweet Orenthal.
Yes,
James.
Whom they did not examine his brain before he died, and they went ahead and they incinerated him.
He was.
I'd have taken that brain out of there and had a look, because I think that there was some shit going on in there that was messed up due to football.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, like totally. The NFL could not. They knew when he dies, they cannot look at his brain, because if you looked at his brain and his brain was jacked with CTE, there was a direct line or a direct correlation between his behavior and football. And football makes a lot of money. And that's why I had a script in the Beverly Hills Film Festival about football called All Good, which is exactly all about the corrupt nature of football.
Really?
So that's why I
didn't even know what your script was about.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
You'd be proud to be my friend again, because like every year when the Super Bowl comes around, we have a Who Gives a Fuck About the Super Bowl game day party.
It's here?
Where at this table we play games here.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
And I refuse to have the...
I don't have anything to do during Super Bowl that I find fun.
And when people invite me, I'm like, I can't support this racist organization anymore.
It's completely racist. It's trafficking of black males.
Yeah,
is basically
and
what
literally
it is.
encouraging them to damage themselves permanently
for the
entertainment
of others, and
it's
for
literally making the
financial
slaves
grifting
fight
of
each
others.
other.
It is, without question. It is.
And as soon as someone was adopted by a white family and raised with those values and expects equal treatment, he's got to be blackballed out of the league.
Yep. How about that?
No, it's just, and all the, believe me, whatever prick I went to high school with, it's like, you know, I deserve not to see that with my season tickets when I go to the game. I'm like, you're pretending.
I deserve to not see him.
You're
How about
pretending
that
it ruins your day. What someone does during a song. That's bullshit.
It is.
You just really don't like it when someone believes they're equal to you.
Yes, people have a lot of
but they're actually superior to you.
Right. Yeah.
Go figure. At that game.
Yeah. No, I obsess about these topics and subjects. So the previous film festival I was at was for Pre-Existing Freedom in Philadelphia, which won another award. As well, golf claps all around.
I give you a real clap.
But in the experimental category, I mean, that particular film festival appreciated the film the same way that your festival, the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, appreciated that same film.
Yeah, you submitted as experimental.
Exactly.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's an art film.
Exactly. And I think experimentation is extraordinarily important in this day and age in telling the truth. Because the old way of telling the truth doesn't work. It gets knocked down. It gets labeled as woke and all this other trash. And you get bogged down, you know, in a quagmire, like trying to invade Russia in the wintertime. So, You've got to come up with a different methodology for delivering your message.
Someday you should write a book where the title is Invading Russia in December or whatever. I don't know when
Exactly.
but yeah.
But exactly. But
without coats, not kidding.
Without coats.
They didn't even have the right coats. Mm-hmm. But
take a jacket.
That is the ultimate.
Take a jacket.
I mean, it brought down two idiots, right?
Yep.
The two of our bigger idiots.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They just beat each other senseless
because they thought they could do no wrong.
Yeah.
I'm on a win streak. They were the blackjack table.
All
they thought
they all do. All these fascists
I'm going to push all the chips into the middle
table. You know,
I don't even have it in my cards yet.
Trump, I'm winning. You know,
we need to win again.
Let's kidnap an entire plane full of Israelis.
Yeah, it seemed like the thing to do at the time.
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Oh man,
sir, the Israelis have destroyed our entire army. It's like, what the hell?
They came in. They got.
It's the greatest rescue of all time.
My education as a Jewish boy in Los Angeles was so weak in some ways that I didn't learn about that event until the movie. Till I saw the movie on TV.
You should never tell anyone that.
I shouldn't admit that.
No, you should admit that.
I hadn't. The Raid on Entebbe was an amazing movie.
Oh my God, I can't.
But I hadn't been taught that. No one taught us.
That's great. You know, I'm laughing because I appreciate the fact that some other cultures' history has been kept from them as well. Makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah. No, lots of gaps.
Yeah.
It is an interesting, when people talk to me, when people do when this podcast is about someone's current film and then they do those 4 questions that you did ages ago, they're just naming movies that I haven't seen at this point because you just can't see everything anymore. There's just too much. There's too many, I don't have the time to watch all the amazing films out of Korea, and I don't have the time to watch the amazing, there's not enough time to watch all the amazing stuff now because we're globally connected and now we have access to so much wonderful work.
Sure.
That I can't keep up.
Right.
Besides, I have to spend all my time watching submissions. Oh, I saw some really cool ones.
Good. This is for Fusion?
This is for Film Invasion LA.
Invasion,
which is coming up soon. Yeah. I think I got the slate decided now.
Good. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to that. And then also, later this year, Sherman Oaks.
Sherman Oaks will be December.
Right.
2 screens at once.
I'm excited. I've got a couple of people I'm recommending to go your way with that.
Oh, excellent.
They're filmmakers here, and they've actually got some people of some gravity in their films, too, which I think is cool.
Very cool.
For you, for the festival. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes we get people of note coming in, but not too often. But
the more the merrier, and I think it helps you, and I think it's better. So usually, if I recommend someone, I try to push people in the direction of someone's got a little weight to them. I think is very helpful as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome.
Fair enough.
Too. So that's what's going on with me. That's where we are this day in history. As always, this has been
your opinions are always valuable and entertaining and thought-provoking at the same time. Like we have to be interesting to ourselves, right?
We have no choice, or we've got nothing.
Yeah, it'd be pretty boring.
Nothing.
Can you imagine if we sat here and went, all right, let's start trading. Let's be dour and talk about history. That could be interesting. By the way, I love history.
I love it that you go into that vocal fry podcast voice.
Let's talk about. Well, I love Dan Carlin's Hardcore History podcast because they're 4 to 6 hours long, and I just put them on an earbud, hit play, and I fall asleep. I find it interesting.
Oh, yeah. I do one like that that's for the Civil War. And it's pretty cool. Puts me to sleep.
Freaking Civil War, man.
That'll put you to sleep. Like a baby. It's amazing.
I just wish that Lincoln guy let him
Sumter, go. Lights out.
Let him go. Just let him go. They want to leave, let him go. I know they shot at us, or they shot first. But
they did, but they say that we did.
Ridiculous. It was right?
All the way back then. They've just been bullshit. And then they were dumb enough to come all the way up into Pennsylvania.
The war of northern aggression was...
They were in Pennsylvania.
You shot first.
They got their asses handed to them in Pennsylvania. They're like nuts. They're stupid people. They're stupid. They're so stupid. If they had just drawn the line somewhere in between in North Carolina or somewhere in there and left it alone, they'd have been way better off. But they're like, no, we're going to take over the whole union. No, we're going to have slavery in California. They're like bozos. They're so stupid. It's the weirdest thing. Their attitudes are absolutely positively ridiculous.
And their beliefs were categorically evil.
Right.
I mean, there was an evil to it.
Well, sure, but there's a threshold with stupidity that you don't even think about the evil side of it because you're too stupid. That's the magic of it. You know?
They were pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah, they're so far in the dark on so many different things. You don't pick a fight
you can't win.
Right. The thing that gets me, though, when they want something, they come around. When they need something, they call me. They ask for things. Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? They're weasels. Weasels. They're the weaseliest people in the world. It's weird. You know?
So at Tomorrow Pictures, people come to you and...
Oh, yeah, and I know that they don't like me, and I know they have a problem with me being black, and I know they hate my politics, and I know they hate my belief systems, but I have this contact they really need, or I have this particular resource that they really want, or I have this window of opportunity. They'll take your money, they'll take your stuff, they'll take your shit, and still not respect you. That's the crazy part. That's the part that just blows me away, because I'm the kind of guy, if I hate you, I don't want shit from you. I'd rather die in a fire than be associated with you.
Than owe one to a prick.
Oh, absolutely. But they, no shame to their game whatsoever. That's how you know that their culture is very, very dysfunctional. And it's got a lot of fixing to do internally as far as their value systems are concerned. And the people that do come from that do fix themselves, they're so radically different from those other people. They're just oddly beholden to them because they're related to them, but they're actually they're also very embarrassed by them, as well. And I feel bad for them. We all have our crosses to bear, but there are a lot of people in this country right now that are completely and totally misinformed about what it takes to keep this country together and moving forward in a positive way. Because if they win economically, culturally, we'll fall apart. There won't be anything left. This will just be a universe of really, really rich people and really, really poor people. And all those people that help to put those really, really rich people into power are going to all be really, really poor. And they don't get that part of it. They're going to be eating mayonnaise sandwiches, hoarding gasoline is what's going to happen to them. And until they get to that point, they just don't realize what the problem is.
This history has repeated itself.
Yep, totally.
As they say, history... may not repeat, but it rhymes.
Always.
And the rhyme is here on that front of people. I know. But also targeting someone and telling them you're working against your own interests doesn't convince them.
No.
I don't know how to get through.
They're holding on to that whiteness.
I think it's...
they want that status. They want that whiteness. They want that gleam, that sheen, that shine that says that they're special. They're one rung ahead of everybody else.
And it's why they're against education in all forms, right? They want to...
Because it raises the floor for all of these other maligned people. They want to decimate
the schools because they don't want kids, and they definitely don't want kids learning any accurate history.
Yeah. Exactly. But then they don't know what to do with all of these people that are going to be in the streets and uneducated and that are of color.
Well, but it's their fault.
They're this delusion that we're going to, excommunicate 11 million people if Trump becomes president again. That's not going to happen. Or we're going to redistrict everything so blacks can't vote. But guess what? These, dark brown people are going to still run out there during Super Bowl Sunday and then not take a knee, and they're going to, sacrifice their lives for us to entertain us. They're crazy. It's not going to happen. They don't believe that we have the ability to stand up. That's the real issue here. That's what they're scared of.
True.
That we will not eventually stand up. And we will. It's taking us a little bit longer than expected, and I think that's because of social media.
They lost your state last time.
Sure.
Huge.
Because there's a lot of black and brown and Jews there that have been there since
Stacey Abrams, because there was enough leadership to put together getting out the vote.
And now they're trying to splinter it and fracture it and stop it.
Yeah. Because they literally are afraid of democracy.
Yes. They are.
Yeah, because
democracy means that everybody's equal and they don't want everybody to be equal.
Yeah.
But they still want us to be here to, like, you know, clean the toilets and fix the roads and change the bed linens and things like that, and raise their children and all this other shit. And they can go fuck themselves. You know, I am somebody, you are somebody, and our voices will be heard, and they are being heard. They're being heard right now. I'm sure there are people that will listen to us and be really offended, but I really don't care.
No, because I haven't said anything offensive. Nor have you. We've just said things that are...
Exactly.
And so if someone disagrees, fine. Not my problem.
But I'm going to continue to march forward without question.
Yeah. Excellent.
Good.
Well, so is there... You know, how should we wrap it up? Should we... You're at the Beverly Hills Film Festival. Too late for... Well, this can come out soon, but... Yeah. But you're having a good experience there.
I'm having a tremendous experience, and then I've done some really great things being in town, connecting with some people, a little bit of deal making here and there, and then I'm going back home to work on a project that I started shooting last year with a gentleman who was terminal. He had dementia, Alzheimer's or whatever, and he granted me the opportunity and the privilege to interview him the last month of his life. He decided to have an expiration date that he was going to take control of his demise, and he decided to fly to Europe to, you know, have an assisted suicide. And I documented it for him, the discussion of it, and we didn't discuss the disease, we didn't discuss his frailties or anything like that. We talked about life, a celebration of life. For someone who knows when life is going to end, what do they see in front of them as far as the expansion of the universe is concerned, and what have they learned about their life experience up to that point? You know, you go into a different headspace when you know you're going to die at a specific day and time. You see things completely differently, and I was able to capture that, and so now I'm working, that's one of my new projects that I'm working on as well, which I'm really excited about.
That sounds really fantastic.
Yes, and it's my 2025 thing that's happening. So I'm really fired up about this. So I'm hoping that I get to showcase it, you know, in some really interesting festivals and hopefully on a streaming platform and all this other stuff, because I think it's essential to the discussion of what is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it's like I said, I've pivoted into a different space because I'm all jammed up with this anti-woke stuff. So now I'm like, okay, I got to deliver my message in this more, you know, esoteric and avant-garde way to get people to just shut the fuck up and listen to somebody for a second rather than yammering about their issues and what they want and what they think and all this other stuff.
Well, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, so I will share it with you more and more as it continues down the pike. And then, you know, I'm pushing screenplays and stuff like that as well. I've got a one-act play that I'm working on. It's about two hitmen who kidnap a Clarence Thomas-type politician in a hotel room and at the business end of a gun get him to change his politics as well. So it's called Please Kill Robinson Scott Thomas. It's funny. It's a dark comedy, but it's for the stage that I think maybe I would move it over into a indie feature someday if I can figure out a way to get that done. And then another script I'm working on, it's called Stand Your Ground, and it's about an old white man who shoots and kills a black kid. And the film focuses on the guilt that comes with these types of assaults with people. And then eventually he's overwhelmed by all of the guilt, and then that he has to figure out a way to fix the things that he's hurt and damaged and, you know, atone for his mistake that was based on all of these negative falsehoods and perceptions. This black kid walks up, knocks on his door by mistake, and he kills him, you know. And then, of course, the news media says, this is great, you know, Fox and all these other people, like, you know, he stood his ground.
He was under threat.
Exactly. But the guilt starts to build up in him. And
right, so he actually has a soul.
Right, and his soul is delivered to him through this deceased individual. So he starts seeing this dead kid. This dead kid keeps coming back and talking to him and interacting with him, and only he can see the kid. And so then this conversation or this cycle really starts where he's finally understanding what life is really all about and what he has done. He has taken the life of a very special individual because of his own issues and insecurities. And that's what we do with hate. Hate hurts people that we love. And that's what that story is about as well. So like I said, I'm there, I'm in it, I'm doing it, but like I'm coming up with these other ways to get it done, because all this other stuff, like, you know, the marches, shaking your fist and fighting and yelling and screaming with these people, dunners. Over it.
It never worked.
Nope.
Worked a little bit in the 60s or late 50s.
For a hot minute.
For a minute, you needed demonstrations.
Yeah, you did. And it was effective.
No demonstrations in our era succeeded. You've got to work from inside.
Completely. Exactly. And you have to work creatively on the inside as well. You got to be able to navigate in tight windows.
Yeah.
And that's just how I see it. You know, you've got.
But it makes sense because you needed the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s to get the first step done. But now at this point,
right,
to improve the world, you can't do it from outside. It has to be from inside, because now it's the even harder part to change.
Exactly. It's a new day. Dr. King had been to the mountaintop. He saw it. May not get there with you, but there is a promised land that is out there. But it's up to us to carry the torch moving forward. And, you know, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
That's a sentiment not shared by many.
Right. That has been lost in the annals of history, which is one of the greatest inaugural addresses of all time. What the bleep? What is going on? You know, 7 years ago. What the hell? Does anybody read anything anymore? I don't know. Maybe not. You know, by any means necessary. Like, we have to get with it. And that's where it is. Like, by any means necessary. What do I have to do to speak to people down in a language that they can really understand?
Yeah.
And that's how I go at it. And it's constantly with inclusion as well. And cross-sectionality, and it's really creative, and it's undeniable, and it's arresting to people if I can get them in the room and dim the lights and show them something. Because once I get them there, then I'm good. I just got to get them in the room. And so for me, it's like convincing some of these weird distributors and streamers to say, you know, take a chance on me. You might be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's it.
All right. Excellent.
All good?
I think we're good.
Sweet.
Should we, do you want to, well, there'll be clickable links.
Yes, clickable links.
For Tomorrow Pictures.
TomorrowPictures.com is the corporate site. TomorrowPictures.tv is the streaming creative site of all kinds of interesting streaming content. And my personal artistic site is Fr3deR1cK, which is Fr3deR1cK.com, and you will get everything all about me on my site. And then if you just use that Fr3deR1cK and put it in the Google machine, you will know everything about me. I am everywhere, and Facebook and Instagram and IMDb, and it's always at Fr3deR1cK.
That is another example of wisdom. Yeah. That you came up with you threw the numbers in and the capitalization, but the uniqueness of it in this era of online searching
it's been paramount. And I've been doing it forever now, but when I first started it, people thought I was weird. So, you know, be weird and be right.
I did not have the wisdom to come up with a handle that was at all unique.
Yeah, but you started a film festival, which is it's a pretty good handle right there.
Yeah, I suppose.
You are the Sherman Oaks Film Festival.
Because I was bused to an all Mexican school for 5th and 6th grade, and they all called me Jefe. I do have Jefe 111 everywhere.
That's kind of cool, actually.
That's sort of my brand, because I was Jefe at AOL.com. That was my email.
You should never share that again for the rest of
but I don't use it.
Well, I think
it's
know.
Dead.
Don't. It is dead.
Oh, shit.
It's AOL.
I did kind of give away.
Were you still paying for it or paying on it? Or
no.
Okay, good.
But I had it forwarding to my Gmail for a while. But I had to add the 111. So so that is my... And actually, many of my best friends call me Jefe just for I'm not even sure why.
I'll only do it when I'm drunk.
Well, hopefully that'll be soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Just heard Fred talk about the show notes and shit. My shit will be in there too. I'm not even going to go on my final ramble.
Good.
Just
throw it in there.
Have a blessed day. Everyone listening.
I love it. You literally can channel a black woman. This is awesome. It's chilling. It is. You actually, because you do it with sincerity as well.
I actually do mean it.
You do mean it. Because black women mean it when they say it to you and like, have a blessed day. They really mean it. They wouldn't say it if they didn't mean it. And you can say it in a way that it sounds like you really mean it. And that's amazing because the only kind of person I know that's really good at doing that is black women. And you. That's it. You should be on The View. They should bring you on The View. You should sit next to Whoopi for a very special episode of The View.
Well, we'll stop recording and I'll tell you my one Whoopi story.
Yes, you should stop recording.
Just involves cheese. Actual cheese.
And
in a cheese shop in L.A.
This is going to be good, and I'm glad we're doing it off air. I don't think we should discuss this on air.
She and I don't agree.
It's okay. It's okay.
I like sheep's milk. She finds it gamey.
That sounds like
milk cheese.
But that's fine.
Sheep. Oh, no. I like goat. Whatever.
You should get off the air now and stop talking about Whoopi Goldberg and her cheese preferences.
Thank you, everyone. I know. I hope she won't be offended that I share she likes sheep's milk.
I would love it if she would listen to this podcast, though, and share.
She should. She should share. She should reach out. She could join us next time.
That would be amazing.
We would have a great talk with her.
We should talk to her.
If she knew us, she'd like us.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
No one dislikes us, by the way.
We are the amalgamation of Whoopi Goldberg. What are you talking about?
If you split her, if she was in a sci-fi movie and dimension got shoved in a tube.
It's you and I. There you go.
Well, you just wrote another movie.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah, just need a VFX budget.
Damn it.
Thank you, everyone.
You got it. Be good.